Yeah.
I'm sorry? Get what? Oh, yes, ma'am. They did, and he apologized for not letting me know. So I told him it won't go till December. It'll be the 14th of December. I'm sorry. But I know you want to go out with a bang. We don't think anybody contacted Mr. Clemens. We don't think anyone contacted Mr. Clemens.
I know it's $21 million.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
He's he got up at the last meeting, sir. The older gentleman on oxygen that complained a little bit. But to get so if if we want to save weather and his ill health.
Tired of conversation yesterday. Tired of conversation. Yeah, so sounds like they're pretty convinced.
Is Jay coming? Oh, okay.
So what happens then? The judge dismisses it, or?
Oh, is he? You don't want to go out with a bang.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like it. From what they're talking, like it's not really. You happy, Jimmy? No knocking on doors this week? Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it.
So, Mayor asked me to prepare for that president-elect.
I don't know. But Jay prophesied and said, well, February will flat out.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just so amazing because, like I tell people, I got a very diverse Facebook group of friends.
Yeah.
One is that live,
Oh, okay.
Rascal put all these conspiracy theories on there. I said, trust me, there was a theory every news
Okay.
outlet was talking about it.
Okay. All
So I
right.
was like, wow. I tell people, hey Nate, I said in your civics class, all the stuff that you're reading right now, you get to see it firsthand.
Yeah. Of course, if all the states had reported like Florida on election night, there would have been no conspiracy.
Right. Well, hopefully all these state legislators will say, you know what, let's be like Florida. When they messed up in 2000, let's just scrap our constitution and start over when our vote. The secretary say, this is how you do it. You get a ballot, count it. Don't wait until election night.
Yeah.
Because you never know, you can have another pandemic type thing where everybody says, well, let's vote by mail now. It's so much easier. We got to know people. So it may continue like that.
Yeah, I think so.
But it teaches you how the different parts of the country are. Like one go here, and then I say Florida, Father, he's been living in Highland Lakes down in Miami area. So like how it's been in the Q movement, and he was saying last election, there a lot of hate on the public. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see
It is.
it all.
American politics, bro.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, November 9th. Welcome to the Leesburg City Commission meeting. Mr. Hurley will be joining us on Zoom shortly. Mr. Roebuck will be giving the invocation. Please rise and for the pledge.
Lord, our Heavenly Father, wisdom to make decisions that are in all of our citizens' best interest. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
Thank you. We have no proclamations tonight, and unfortunately, our presentation will have to be moved to the next meeting. Mr. Coleman is unable to be here tonight, so we will do that during the second meeting in November. Public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred. Is there anybody that would like to speak? By the way, if you're here for White Marsh, I'd ask you to hold those comments until we get into that, okay? Because it'll make more sense to everybody. Are there any other comments needed to be made? Okay, thank you. The consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commissioner's staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Commissioners, are there any items?
5B1.
Okay. Commissioner Christian.
Madam Mayor, I think we need to pull 5C4 to just insert a name.
You want to insert a name?
Yeah, I think we have a few options. I'm the current representative of Lake Community Action Agency, and so I think we need to pull it to actually vote on 5CA4.
5C4.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Pull it, did you say?
Yes, ma'am, please.
You got it. Pull it to discuss or pull it from the meeting?
No, pull it, discuss.
Mr. Peterson? Nothing? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the remaining items?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
He might be a few minutes late.
okay, Commissioner Peterson. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a construction services agreement with a guaranteed maximum price, GMP, with Wharton Smith, Inc. for $21,571,562.97 and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion, please.
So I pulled it. I know all of us are very familiar with this project, but still we're voting to do a $21 million project. So I thought maybe Al could give a little bit of a description about what this is about and how it's all working for everyone else's benefit.
Okay, this is the, I guess now famous Turnpike expansion the Turnpike wastewater treatment expansion project. Required for a few things: preparation of growth in southwestern and south Leesburg, as well as growth that's impending from the villages. On the financial side, we talked about this a number of times. We made some long-range financial plans. We issued debt for the sewer fund back in, when did we do that, Brandy? July. That was $15 million, and we planned on cash flowing that debt with the income that comes from the villages. So there's an offset, and then a little bit of gain for the fund, which is good. The plant had some issues that we know of, where it was really never able to reach its nameplate capacity of the 4 MGD, or MGD is million gallons a day. So the plan was to get to that 4 million and then get a little bit more. So basically what we're doing is we're doing some expansions of all of the contact chambers in the plant, like the aeration chambers, the digesters, changing some pipe mechanisms, changing the way the SBR works through aeration, different pumps and these type of things. So put all that in the hopper, 21.5 million. Hydro Solutions is here. They're our engineering team if you have any more detailed questions than that. And then obviously this is our construction agreement. Target deadline for completion March 22, so about 16 months, which is ahead of schedule for us, so knock on wood.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley, Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. C4, would somebody like to introduce, please?
I introduce and recommend, read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the City Commission to appoint a representative and alternate to the Board of Directors of Lake Community Action Agency and providing an effective date.
So I'll move to appoint John Christian as the representative and Commissioner Hurley as the alternate.
Commissioner Hurley is off the
We
board.
pick again at our budget meeting in January, so.
Oh, okay.
This is just to
Just
make
to
them
cover until
happy.
then?
Well, they have a requirement, I believe, that we have to take. do
Okay,
this.
thanks for the explanation.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley, Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Okay. Public hearings and non-routine items, 6A. We have a resolution to appoint one member to the Carver Heights Montclair Area Community Redevelopment Agency to serve the remaining four-year term set to expire December 31st, 2023, and providing an effective date. Before we start, I would like to read a letter to you. Please inform the Leesburg City Commissioners at tonight's meeting that I have decided to withdraw my application for the CRA Board. In speaking with a couple of the City Commissioners, it has been mutually agreed upon that my serving on the CRA Board would pose as a potential distraction to the great work that is already in place. I thank you for your time, attention, and consideration in this matter, and I look forward to serving my community in other areas. Kind regards, Constant Portier Christian, City of Leesburg resident. So Mrs. Christian has pulled her name from the CRA Board. And we have one other. Is Mr. Connor here tonight? Would you please come up to the microphone? Mr. Connor has also applied for this position. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the CRA?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Kevin Connor. I grew up in Leesburg, went to school here in Leesburg, graduated from Leesburg High School in 1977. From that, I went into the United States Army, served 4 years. From there, I joined the Florida Highway Patrol, served 32 years at the Florida Highway Patrol, retired as a captain at the Florida Highway Patrol. So during that tenure, most of my time was in Miami, Florida. I spent 30 years in Miami, 2 years in Orlando. And during that time, and business-wise, I had two retail business in Bayside Marketplace in Miami. And I also, for over 20 years, ran a security company and had over 30 employees. I hired construction for the construction work on the highways. And then I retired in 2014. I've owned a home here in Leesburg for pretty much over 20 years. So this is my home. I grew up in the Carver Heights area, and I'm back. I'm also doing some other work for OSHA. So, and I want to become a part of the community and work on the CRA.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any other questions? Any other nominations?
I make
Okay.
a motion that we accept Mr. Connor.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley, Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Congratulations to Mr. Connor and welcome. You'll be a very valuable asset on this board. Okay, 6B, would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 158 acres being generally located west of U.S. Highway 27, north of Bridges Road, and east of Florida's Turnpike, lying in sections 1 and 2, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and sections 35 and 36, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if such territory had been a part of the city of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date.
Somebody like to move for approval?
First reading.
Oh, first reading. Okay. This is strictly the annexation of what is called White Marsh, and this is the first reading, so it will come up again during the second meeting in November. If anyone from White Marsh want to speak, please just go ahead and get up to the podium.
As the applicant, I'll defer to any comments made by any folks who want to discuss any aspects of this. This case, the next one, and the one after it are all cases that are all combined, and I would prefer just addressing them all at once after you've introduced first readings for B, C, and D, and discuss them all at once rather than 3 times in the interest of time. And defer all my comments after any of the other folks would like to bring up any points of interest at that time. So I'll defer as the applicant until after they've had any comments they want to make,
Okay,
if that's all right with the City Commission.
that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 6C.
I'm sorry, man. Before
Yes.
we move, we need to transmit the annexation to DEO,
Okay,
The annexation or the comp plan?
all 3.
wouldn't we have to vote on it? It's only
the
first reading.
Only the comp plan? Okay, you're correct.
So C.
Only, it's this one.
This one, okay. 6C, would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the city of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 158 plus minus acres from Lake County urban low density to city of Leesburg estate for property generally located west of U.S. Highway 27, north of Bridges Road, and east of Florida's Turnpike, as legally described in sections 1 and 2, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and sections 35 and 36, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Make a motion that we transmit this to the state of Florida. And just so everyone here knows.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley, Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6D, would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for single-family residential development for property generally located west of U.S. Highway 27, north of Bridges Road, and east of Florida's Turnpike, as legally described in sections 1 and 2, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and sections 35 and 36, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Now, is this considered first reading? Human comment?
Hi, I'm Marlena Sokol. I live at 5549 Great Egret Drive. Dear Leesburg City Commission, the proposed White Marsh 2 and 3 developments first made news in my neighborhood at the September 8th, 2020 HOA meeting. The letter sent by the City of Leesburg to residences most proximal to the proposed development was dated July 23rd, 2020. While those 4 residences were given the opportunity to provide comments on the proposed development at the time, the rest of the neighborhood was not. The rest of the neighborhood would not have known about the proposed development had it not been for those 4 residences sharing that information with other residents and with the HOA. The primary concerns that I have heard from residents relate to the following topics: road use, protected wetlands, protected species, and quality of life. The issue of road use ties to the other issues mentioned. The wetlands are visible upon entering our neighborhood, as is the playground to the immediate left of the entrance. Children frequently play at this playground and in the streets throughout the White Marsh community. Sandhill cranes are also frequently found in the streets, as well as in residents' front yards, and the presence of gopher tortoises has also been registered with the Florida Wildlife Commission. Great Egret Drive is initially a 42-foot wide landscaped throughway from its US 27 access point, though the road narrows to a 20-foot wide road. Orchard Drive, the dirt path leading to the property in question, and by property in question I mean the proposed development area, is a dirt path overgrown with vegetation and bordered on both sides by protected wetlands. Using these roads, specifically Great Egret Drive, as part of the proposed development would negatively impact the quality of life of existing residents in favor of sprawl. The environmental impacts of this sprawl include air pollution resulting from automobile dependency, water pollution caused in part by increases in impervious surfaces, the loss or disruption of environmentally sensitive areas such as critical natural habitats, namely the wetlands, reductions in open space, and overall reductions in quality of life. Leapfrog development patterns further fragment natural landscapes by leaving patches of open land intermingled with built-up areas. Roadways, fences, and other abrupt, human-defined edges can act as barriers to wide-ranging species. With all these points in mind, I ask the Leesburg City Commission to not change the zoning. The neighborhood as it exists cannot handle increased traffic in the form of residential traffic and heavy construction equipment. Neither Great Egret Drive nor Orchard Drive could sustain increased traffic without posing significant risk to the residents' wildlife and protected wetlands. If my and other residents' pleas are deemed insufficient, I invite members of the City Commission to come to our neighborhood and to have a closer look at the neighborhood and the impacts that this proposed development would have. I would also ask that they speak to residents of the community, as I have done in collecting signatures on a petition of residents against the petition, to understand the community impact of this proposed development. I speak to the Leesburg City Commission today not only on my behalf, but also on behalf of those residents who signed the petition against the development. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Dennis Bean, 5508 Great Egret Drive in White Marsh, Leesburg. First of all, she said a lot of eloquent things that I was hoping to get across, so thank you very much. But actually, I would also, first of all, like to thank the city clerk's office. At the last meeting, I was told to get a hold of them for any information, plans, studies that have been done. And she very quickly and graciously got me everything I needed. So that's a thank you very much. Great customer service job. That being said, as the previous speaker mentioned, I would please ask that you take 10 minutes, drive through the neighborhood, and drive out. It's all we ask. You'll get a great idea if you do that of what we're saying. To see it on paper is one thing, but to actually just drive your own neighborhood and see that, how close everything is, what the real concerns are, it puts it in perspective. So I just plead with you on that one. And lastly, but not leastly, when we bought our house here at White Marsh, it was under the pretenses of what the neighborhood currently is. In addition to that, we were told that the wetland and things like that could not be touched. It was in our paperwork, everything. So I find it disheartening, that this could happen and the entire area would be set up. But as upset, and obviously me and my wife are, if you were to drive the neighborhood, our house excluded, you would see the impact and what it's all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Please.
Hi, my name is Lisa Christie. I live at 5720 Great Egret Drive in Leesburg. I want to thank all of you for all the hard work you do and for being here. and particularly Mr. Bevelou for being patient with us, because this is all new to us. It was sprung on us. I looked, Mr. Bevelou, through my documents for signing for the new home building in 2013, and I saw nothing with regard to anybody knowing about or agreeing to more building, only to an HOA. That was the only thing we agreed to. I ask that when work is done, if it is done, please don't drain the marsh to do the work. The wildlife is full throughout the area. It's a very calm area. I can't say anything better than Marlena said. She said it perfectly for our entire neighborhood, thoroughly and perfectly, and I promise you, we all move in one spirit on this. I want to use the remainder of my time to express quality of life. We are into 45 seconds of me standing here. We have some time left. I've watched you guys on YouTube. I've heard all the nasty things people say to you. I appreciate your patience with everyone. It's a hard job to be on your side of that table. I'm going to ask that we be silent for 2 minutes. I also passed out some things that you can look at. I didn't do that. We're almost at a minute and a half, halfway through. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got more time.
Oh.
I'm using my 3 minutes. There's a lot of pressure on us. We're scared. Please think about that. We're not a retirement community. We don't have a boulevard. We have a small, narrow road that's the only in and out in our neighborhood. We have a lot of wildlife and a lot of children. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm giving you 25 seconds.
Oh. I will visit that community. I have gone by it several times, and I want to drive into it and see what's going on. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Thank you for listening to me. Bill Gamble. I live at 23810 Pine Gulch Court in the White Marsh community. A lot of stuff's already been said. My feeling is that the city's not going to want to turn down the money that this development is going to bring in. So obviously we will probably have an uphill battle to change that. My suggestion, if that was to be the case, is to look at potential other avenues to reach that land. So looking at coming from another angle into the property, as these people have mentioned, driving into the community. If you guys drive in, if you're going faster than 15, 20 miles an hour, it's a sharp S bend when you come into our community. And just with the amount of people we have living there, you can see multiple near misses as people are driving through, because it is narrow roads. It's definitely not designed for the amount of traffic that we're going to see there. So I don't know if there's been anything looked at in terms of an entrance from the turnpike side, and I know that may impact wetlands and may be an additional cost, but I would feel the builder or owner should take that on to allow us to keep that quality of life that we have. So I can raise my daughter and other people can raise their children in a safe place where they don't have to worry about cars speeding through that area to get to another development. And much like everyone probably feels, I moved in there, it's a nice quiet community. I don't want it to have to take me a half hour to get from my house out to the street when we have 52 cars lined up trying to get on 227 if we get that development there. So I just want you guys to think about that, in your own communities, if you're gonna take your 100+ homes and now quadruple that size of residence and see how that would impact your street, your area, because that's what we're looking at with our neighborhood. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Walter Bellevaux. I live at 5348 Great Egret Drive, Leesburg. As I look at this planned development is good, but there also has to be consideration given to the homes and the people living in the area. over 300 homes. No additional access or egress planned. 300 homes, 300 mortgages or more, 300 families, at least 2 working adults in each family, more than likely. I think we could assume that. That's 2 cars per home, 2 jobs per family, 600 cars leaving in the morning, 600 cars returning in the evening on a road 20 feet wide, less than a mile from the top of the turn of Dilly Marsh, which is the entrance into this new development, to the exit at 27, less than a mile. Homes with families, children, a 20-foot road. If you lived on Egret Drive, would you want to live on Egret Drive, knowing that you're going to have a minimum of 1,200 cars per day potential, at a minimum, not counting service vehicles? Would you want to live there? Any of you? I doubt it. But this is what is on the board. I'm 84 years old. I've served my country. In good conscience, I'm going to go back to what makes sense in this world. In good conscience, can you allow something like this to happen? I'm not saying development shouldn't happen. Development is good. Good for the economy. Good for you, your city, our city. But there should be additional roadage. There's farmland nearby that could accept road. So what I'm asking is, if you haven't driven it, if you haven't been in there yourselves, how can you make a judgment? So, come into the community and see if you wanted to have your children or go for a walk, as my wife and I do. We walk 5 miles a day. Both of us are 84 years old. And we walk that road. I can't imagine what it would be like with that many cars leaving at between 7 or 8 in the morning. Or that many cars coming home between 5, 6, 7, whatever it's going to be. And don't tell me that, I mean, it's quite obvious. There's very few people can buy a home and not have a mortgage. There are going to be people, they're going to have to work. And it's going to be a horrible impact on that community. Development, fine. But let's, in good conscience, let's do it properly and put in the proper egress, access, etc. And protect the people who already live there. Protect those children. Protect the adults that are there. Protect those seniors. Protect those people who protected this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Vella, would you like to wrap that up?
Yes, let me address the traffic issue first, and I'll touch on some of the environmental items. First of all, the traffic component, the road system and the road design of that subdivision, White Marsh, is actually very consistent with several projects that They're on South 27. That was designed by Keith Riddle. And our projects that I was very familiar with, they're the Pringle projects that are down South 27. They're designed exactly the same. And the number of lots and the number of homes that abut similar designed road systems mirror the number of lots that abut that same design. Royal Harbor, for instance, the main boulevard may go through it, but there are subdivisions that feed that main boulevard that numbers in the same number of lots that feed that main boulevard. Highland Lakes, another one that's just adjacent or just south of 48, is another one, has over 500 lots within it. Then we have another small subdivision called Legacy. That one also has a scrub jay habitat in it. This project will also have a scrub jay habitat in it. We also have a sign off from Fish and Game, in which we will have to abide by. Mr. Pringle found out that it was cheaper to do a scrub jay habitat as an amenity. He could sell lots along the scrub jay habitat for the same amount he could sell them off abutting a golf course, by the way. Plus, he didn't have to maintain a scrub jay habitat like he did a golf course. So the Royal Highlands, there's Royal Harbor, Highland Lakes, Legacy. Those are all subdivisions that Keith Riddle designed with the same design standards that are in White Marsh. Keith Riddle did White Marsh 1, so he knows that. In fact, he advised me to give you that list of consistency in design. The other component is that White Marsh 2 and 3 was always anticipated to be a growth of White Marsh 1. The original designs and the original plat, White Marsh 2 was an expansion. The way White Marsh 1 is designed, there's a stub out at the end of the road. The utilities are already stubbed out for White Marsh 2 and 3. The road's at the end, the utilities are there, the expansion is to go to the west, where our project is looked at as going as the entrance for all the roads, the water, and the sewer lines. So this was anticipated from the beginning of White Marsh 1. The environmentalists that are on our project was the original environmentalists that did White Marsh 1. They've been on the job for almost 20 years. We have here, as far as the concerns about what we're doing with the wetlands and the endangered species, these are all the studies that have been accomplished on this property. The wetland line, for those who are concerned about the wetlands and what we're doing to the wetlands, St. John's just issued our wetland line determination. Those have been verified and certified. We know where they are, and we're not going to encroach on them. We have to actually have an upland buffer. So we're not going to encroach on them. They will be set aside. We also have had a sand skink evaluation done, and we've done cover boards and been signed off on those. Again, the scrub jays, we know where they are, and we know where their habitats are, and we're going to be setting aside those. The worry about so we've gone through, and we know about what the gopher tortoises. We know how many we have. There's been 100% survey done on those. And we know we're going to have to take care of those before we actually do construction. We can't do the permit now because it's too early. We have to do that when we get to the construction phase. So we've done an exhaustive analysis of that, and we've also done a phase 1. That's this document. We also know if there was it's been cleared, there is nothing nasty in the ground out there. So we've done that. Our traffic analysis, these are our clearance letters from all the agencies. The traffic analysis was reviewed not only by the local agencies, but also by DOT, and they had no comments. They were fine. So we're moving forward. So the project has met and all requirements. We've gone through all the reviews, and as far as we can humanly possible, we've gone through all the reviews of all the agencies, permitting, and review, and then signed off. All we have to do now is go through this process in anticipation of hopefully going through the PUD process. At the second reading, we'll outline the plan itself, give you all the details on the plan and the design, and show you the concessions we've made on some of those with our neighbors to the north, and have those outlined to you in detail. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions of the board.
How many houses are in White Marsh now?
Pardon me?
How many
How
houses?
many houses are in White Marsh now?
I believe there's 105.
105 there. Okay.
So this one, I think, it is a little unique in that the access is not ideal, but I don't see any other way to access the property.
There isn't.
Would there be, maybe you could come back with some restrictions during construction in terms of some timeframes where, you know, we wouldn't have heavy trucks going in and out, and to try to protect that. I'd hate to see, you know, especially with the site work guys coming in every day at, you know, 4:35 a.m. like sometimes they like to do on this particular project. I think that would be a little too much.
Yes, we can look at that.
All right, thank you.
And on that note, I was in Clearmount at a subdivision. They actually had signs posted, constructions from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So in some cities, they're already doing this, so that may be something you can look at, bring back to us.
Okay, certainly.
You're going to have to come up to the microphone.
Greg, the comments on the 20-foot road, I assume that this road will be widened during development.
Pardon me?
Someone referenced a 20-foot road. I have a flyer here. They're talking about a 20-foot road. I assume that's just what it is right now. I trust the road will be wider going into the subdivision.
In ours?
Yes.
It'll probably be 24 with a 2-foot curb. Their road's actually 20-foot lanes with Miami curb on each side. So with the Miami curb, it's 20 plus 2 feet on each side. It's not a normal curb with the bumps. It's a Miami curb.
Okay. And I guess this project is not large enough for a secondary road? I mean,
There is no way. We've looked at it. The only access through Plantation is through, again, their golf course. I don't think they'd like to see a golf course, a road going through their golf course to the north. So we can't use anyway that way. We looked at alternatives, and there isn't any. Unless there's just not. You can't get to the turnpike. The turnpike blocks us to the west. And they're not looking for another on-ramp. So we are where we are. And like I mentioned, this was the access that was originally in the original plat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting me come up here. I just have a quick question/comment about that. My name is Crystal Lazinski. I live at 5602 Great Egret Drive. I just happened to notice with all the housing developments you listed, they're all retirement communities for the most part. So when we talk about the amount of traffic coming in and out throughout the day, we have a working community with a lot of coming and going traffic, and you just happened to mention it was pretty much all retirement communities. So I feel like the flow of traffic is different where we are. And on top of it, I just find it interesting talking about quality of life. We're talking about our quality of life, but you can't use Plantation because we don't want to disrupt their golf course. So I just would like to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
I also mentioned the fact that numerically, those communities have a lot more numbers of lots on those same type of roads. So the traffic numbers would probably pan out, but numerically the lot numbers are very inequitable. Those communities have a lot more numbers of lots on those road systems. Also, the other component is the not having an option, but having the fact that this phase 2 and 3, this road access was the road access historically outlined as being the road access to go through to get to this component, and it was planned that way. The people who live in this White Marsh 1, if they historically looked at the plats of record, there was a stub out going into this area. Due diligence may have been fruitful to see where is that going. And old documents and old construction plans showed a future phase. That's all I can give you.
Thank you.
Bill Gamble again, coming up. I have a couple of comments to make. First of all, I've been there. I was one of the first 10, 12 homes built there, so I know the stub out was there. But I can guarantee you it was not to build 300 homes. The size of lots that we have in our community is one of the reasons that we've moved there. Everyone has about an 80-foot front lot, which is much larger than a lot of these other communities where you can reach out and touch your neighbor's house from your window. I don't know if that's what you're planning with the new community, but the second phase, because we talked with the original sellers when we were there, they did mention it was going to be a mirror of this, which you'd be talking about maybe another 100 homes, not 300. So I do know my due diligence, and I do know the history of that. And you've also mentioned—
Sir, could you speak into the microphone,
Yep, sorry.
please?
You've also mentioned some communities where they have boulevards. All your examples have main boulevards going in, and I understand that they have streets coming off of those, but that's a little different than our small road that's coming in. You're talking about a community that has a tiny access road where you're comparing it to ones that have large boulevards and then have side streets coming off of that. That's way different than what we're currently looking at. We're not looking at increasing the traffic on a 20-foot wide road, even if you take away that Miami curve that you talked about. So I hope that you guys take this into consideration, because this is going to be a big impact, and I know that you see dollar signs and you see money for these homes, but it really is something that we're passionate about. So I really hope that you take that into consideration and don't discount what we know or don't know about the community. Thank you.
One last comment. I find it quite interesting, this gentleman calls it a boulevard. My concept of a boulevard is a lot different than what a 20-foot road is. I appreciate their want. They reach back in history and say, well, this is the way it was, so therefore that's the way it has to be. But that's not true. It might have been what it was, but the whole world is different today. There are people living there, the children and families. That's not the way it was. So he can't just go automatically back and say, hey, this is the way it was, so this is the way it's got to be. No. The way it has to be is the way it is. And the way it is quality of life, safety for children, for families, and smart development. Not just, this is what I want, this is what I plan, and that's the way it's got to be. No. That's up to you, folks. Once again, use your conscience. You know what's right. Would you want your children and family to live in there with this situation coming up? I don't think so.
Sir, did you want to speak?
I did.
Okay, please.
I'll just be a moment. Thank you for all my neighbors for eloquently putting our concerns. My name is Paul Lazinski. I also live at 5602 Great Egret Drive. And I just wanted to ask a question. You mentioned that the roads in the new part of the development would be 24 feet wide, and ours are 20. And I'm assuming that yours are 24 feet wide for safety reasons and traffic. And, you know, our road just isn't set for that. And I think a lot of our neighbors have concerns about the safety of all the residents because our roads aren't set for the extra 300 homes, as some of my neighbors have mentioned already.
Rather than getting into a continued debate, what I'll do is I'll delay this until you see the actual plan next time, see what we're doing, see what we're accomplishing, see what we have proposed, so that you actually see it in front of you, and then we can actually go through a discussion that actually outlines what we're trying to accomplish and how we're getting there. And I think you'll see what we're trying to do, and it's not as vile as is being projected. And I'll have Keith here to address the road situation and the transportation items. And that way you'll have all the consultants here in which to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question? It's probably in here and I missed it. Can you compare the lot sizes in phase 1 to what's being proposed? I heard someone say 80 foot and then.
We have 3 different lot sizes.
Okay.
And we're, in our proposed design, we're proposing on putting the larger lot sizes and abutting the existing subdivisions. And again, if you look at the layout, we have extensive wetlands as proposed buffers, so that we have a lot of open space. And since we have upland spaces to work with, we're conscious of the fact that unlike White Marsh 1, we don't quite have the same sandbox to play in. But we are offering 3 different lot sizes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. The second reading will be announced. And I also encourage the commissioners to take a ride down there so you can visualize what is going on here. Okay, information reports. City Attorney?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager?
No matters for you. I can think of some if you want.
No, thank you. That's fine. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Roebuck?
First, I'd like to congratulate our new incoming commissioners. We have Jimmy Burry, who's here tonight, and then we have Jay Cannell, who I don't think I saw. And also congratulate the other candidates. I think everyone ran a really good race here. It was very cordial, and that was good to see. And then the last thing is also just give a shout out to Alan Hayes, Supervisor of Elections in Lake County. You know, see some other states. You know, we knew in Lake County in 2 hours what our totals were, and that says a lot for him and the professionalism of his staff and how well prepared they were with historic turnout, lots of mail votes, early voting. In Lake County, at least it all went flawlessly, so that was good to see. Thanks.
Commissioner Christian?
I want to kudo what Commissioner Roebuck said to incoming Commissioner-elect Jimmy Burry and Jay, and to the other candidates who ran an outstanding race. Had some new faces involved, and I think does Leesburg well to have spirited competition. I think it makes our city just look kind of progressive. Also to Mr. Connor for coming on the CRA Carver Heights and Mount Clair. We look forward to seeing some very progressive things from the Carver Heights and Mount Clair neighborhood. As we see in the last few meetings, we've had a lot of new growth opportunities for our city. So I think our city is poised to grow, and commend our staff working with all those that come in. And even those who oppose. I think, Mayor, you've done a very fine job with some very contentious in the middle of a pandemic, so we do commend you. Also, Al, Andy, maybe in our ordinances, like we took away the first reading, second reading, it gets kind of confusing. So if you look at our agenda tonight, it only simply says an ordinance. So I think we need to get back to saying first ordinance, first reading, second reading, makes it a little more clear to understand. That's all I have.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes, I echo the other commissioners. I want to welcome Jimmy and Jay. Good job for you guys, and I hope that that the success of Leesburg just keeps on rolling as we've had the last several years. Excited to see what kind of ideas that you all bring, and to the other contestants as well. And I want to say this. If everybody is still in the room from the White Marsh project, but we have a great need in Leesburg with the villages coming in. That whole corridor is going to explode. We're going to have a lot of jobs there, a whole lot of jobs in the service industry. And when these things get brought up, it's not that we're not doing our job, our due diligence. We're not being methodical about it. You can go to any neighborhood you want to in Leesburg. You can go over to Sunnyside, Sleepy Hollow, wherever. There's neighborhoods over there with 500 houses in them, and they don't have a boulevard. It comes down to responsibility. The people who are going to be driving in there, they're not visitors that are flying through your neighborhood and wrecking things. They're going to be your neighbors if this thing passes. So, you know, hopefully when this comes back, there'll be a lot of answers that can address some of the concerns. You know, when White Marsh went in there, the plantation was mad about it. When plantation went in, the people who owned cows were mad about it. And it just doesn't ever matter when we're trying to do some kind of development that we continually have opposition. I have yet to have in 8 years one residential community being developed where the surrounding houses wanted it anywhere but there. And it's always the same exact 5 reasons for it and all that. So, you know, at the end of the day, Leesburg is growing, Lake County's growing, Florida is growing at a rapid rate. You know, and as part of that, we have got to be able to have housing to house our residents. And if we're ever going to raise our medium incomes and we're ever going to get all the things that everybody wants to have in Leesburg, you know, they talk about how other communities have left us behind, Claremont or whoever. And, you know, if you don't have a place and a workforce, you're never going to bring industry in here if you don't have housing for workforce and you don't have trained workforce in here. So it's not just, oh, wow, we can get a little more money on the taxes and let's put this housing development in here. There's a lot of things that go into it. And, you know, the best that we can hope for is to try to do things where it works for everybody and makes sense for everybody. So I know when I vote, please understand, I'm not going to be voting one way or the other just on some tax dollars or because, you know, it's just something to do from the history of the old days. It's just looking at the totality of it. So that's what I'll put, and I appreciate it, Mayor, and that's all for me.
Mayor Dennison?
Just first, a couple of questions. Al, what's the situation with the restaurant out here?
The last we checked in, the Boyd Group was in the process of getting their loan.
Okay.
The big delay has been COVID. They were on the brink of getting their financing all wrapped up back in March before COVID happened, and then they did have delays. When it broke, they started working back on getting their financing. They ran into a little bit of they were down to 2 weeks on getting their loan closed, and the bank challenged our title. So Fred did some work on that. We got that back to the title company. I have a message in to Mr. Boyd, but we hadn't heard back from the title company. We're assuming that's good news, so hopefully they're close to closing. I'll get you a more formal update as soon as Mr. Boyd returns my call.
All right, thank you. What about the Moat Morris house? What are we looking at as far as reopening?
Cliff, will you help me out on this one? I think we're about 4 months out on that-ish.
Yes, sir. We're looking at finishing construction in the end of January, early February, and then we have to move some furniture in and do some other work in there before we can ribbon cut, but our goal is 1st of March.
Great, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody from the election who voted to change our city charter so that going forward, no district can take control over the board in Leesburg. There'll be a fair distribution over the districts. We'll do away with at-large, and it will depend on how the census turned out as far as what changes are going to start happening in the different districts. So looking forward, I think you have protected Leesburg. I think it's a great amendment, and thank you very much. And finally, I want to remind you that COVID is not over with yet. Every country in the world is experiencing massive increases in this disease. We had a great announcement this morning that Pfizer, it looks like they have a 90% efficacy rate. In other words, they expect this to work 90% of the time for our people. So that's coming, but please continue to take your cautions with the mask, with the 6-foot distance, no massive parties or anything. I know we've got the holidays coming up and we all want to get back to normal. Please just be careful, okay? And that's it for me.
And Madam Mayor, the pool groundbreaking and work has already started.
Great, all right. The pool had a groundbreaking the other day, and Commissioner Christian just said that building is already going on. So that's going to add a lot to the Pine Street area of Leesburg. We're still continuing on with our our teen center over on the other side of town. So while things have slowed down a little bit because of what's happened this year, it's been a crazy year, we still are moving ahead with the things that we promised. So thank you, and on that, we are adjourned.